I know there is nothing more exciting than the various properties of conditionally essential amino acids, and when you woke up this morning, this question was burning on your brain. You were like, Danny, what's up with taurine? And how exactly are its similarities with dietary carbohydrate proof that carbs are in fact for babies and that we're actually made for meat? Well, that's what I'm gonna break down for y'all in today's video. Rolling! What's up, family? It's your boy Danny, back alive and in the flesh, reminding you that you are beautiful, capable, and strong, which means you are good enough for whatever fate cooks up and sends your way. And you are gonna stay that way because you are gonna eat meat, move weight, and supplement as needed. If this is your first time here and you wanna learn how to think about and how to control both your body and your mind in the most efficient manner possible, that is, if you wanna Pareto optimize your whole friggin' life, well, hang on to your dang socks and smash that subscribe button. Now, in preparation for today's video, we're going to talk just for a bit about why consistent and internally coherent reasoning is important for developing a nutritional philosophy. If that prospect sounds off-putting for you, or if you just want to skip the philosophy class and get ahead to the straight dope that is the content, then go ahead and utilize the chapters feature in the video timeline bar below and skip the nutritional philosophy section ahead to the section after that. Consistent and coherent reasoning is a big part of philosophical thinking. It's also a friggin' huge part.
You don't think a guy's gonna be doing that? Freaking huge.
Of the philosophy of nutrition, which happens to be one of our specialties here. It's incredibly important that people are both consistent and internally coherent when they're crafting their guiding philosophies, their heuristics, and their interpretive frameworks. Now, I try to do this myself because it doesn't really advance a debate, the state of a field, or my own personal knowledge if I'm inconsistent, or if I allow so much internal inconsistency in my interpretive frameworks that they start to resemble a hastily assembled hodgepodge of special pleadings. If we do this incorrectly, very important data tends to get overlooked as insignificant noise rather than the very important signal that it actually is. Because I want to be both a coherent and consistent thinker, I don't do certain things. I don't assert that we're obligate carnivores, even though that might be good for my brand. Just because the obligate carnivore interpretation might be consistent with the one or two pieces of data that I have to be working with in a given moment, that doesn't give me a license to ignore all of the data that indicates or suggests otherwise. Because I want to be both coherent and consistent, I continue to insist that our vegan family can, in the context of nutritional modernity, construct a vegan diet that's properly supplemented, that tends to reduce the amount of deaths of certain kinds of animals without sacrificing too much of their own health in the process. However, I will still encourage vegan family to read Keith's The Vegetarian Myth and Reese Starr's writing over at the Let Them Eat Meat blog, and continue to work out and understand all of the implications of ahimsa and what that really means. Because I want to be both coherent and consistent is one of the reasons that I don't immediately and reflexively counsel everyone indiscriminately to cut out all the carbohydrate from their diet. It would be silly of me to do so because it's very clear that as a species, we're capable of consuming large quantities of starch very safely, massive quantities, in fact, in some nutritional contexts. This is not to say that I think everyone should be consuming carbohydrate or consuming massive amounts of carbohydrate. It's not even to say that I think the average person should be consuming anywhere near the amount of carbohydrate that the average person even consumes. And if I'm left without an audience because I refuse to do rah-rah go team thinking, well, so be it. Because although I really care about my audience and building a real community here, I care even more about being coherent and consistent. In fact, this drive that I have to make sure that I'm not ignoring any data and doing my best to incorporate all of the data into a consistent and internally coherent framework is the real proof that I actually care about my audience rather than primarily being concerned with becoming an affiliate marketer or ad revenue. To be consistent and coherent, you have to think broadly. You have to think about thinking. That's called epistemology, children. This is why we have to poke around at the things that people are asserting and figure out what interpretive frameworks underlie the assertions that they're making, which they very often try to pass off as or frame as just the facts. It's also really important that we do this to the assertions that we make. That's called epistemic humility, or intellectual humility, or intellectual honesty.
That was acting, children!
Now, this skill seems to come more naturally to some people than it does to others. It doesn't seem to come so naturally to some of our vegan family. Now, this guy is not consistent about human anatomy or comparative anatomy, human physiology, and even some of the basic facts of other scientific disciplines. His hypothesis is always creeping. Creeper. And new hypotheses are created ad hoc, as needed, to serve a particular purpose before being quickly thrust aside before he picks up the next shiny new hypothesis. And none of these hypotheses are ever fully, completely, and consistently integrated into any of his interpretive frameworks. Take, for instance, the vegan's insistence that since we can synthesize some nutrients, say that 10 times fast.
Take, for instance, the vegan's insistence that says we can synthesize some nutrients,
that it makes dietary consumption of those nutrients unhealthy, unnecessary, or immoral. He offers this up as a kind of general interpretive principle with which he approaches the facts, but as we'll see later, what he gives with one hand, he takes away with another. Now, he does this because there are quite a few nutrients that are only available in nutritionally significant quantities in animal products. Some of these nutrients human beings can synthesize, but at a rate that's inefficient or insufficient for optimal human health. Now, Dr. Joel Kahn's supplement page is a perfect example of this phenomenon. And incidentally, for the fact that we're perfectly adapted for meat eating. There are 6, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 very important nutrients all listed on his supplement page. And all 6 of them are easily and readily obtainable from animal sources or animal food sources. One of them, L-carnitine, is literally named after flesh. But today we're going to talk about a different amino acid, one of them that isn't on his list but is nevertheless quite important. Taurine is a conditionally essential amino acid for human beings, for adult humans, but it isn't an essential amino acid for infants. It is one of the most common sulfur-based amino acids on the planet. Taurine is a phylogenetically ancient compound with a disjunct distribution in the biosphere, which means that we find it more in the animal kingdom than we do in the plant kingdom. It's not distributed evenly throughout the 2 kingdoms. Taurine concentrations, when measured in plants, are measured in billionths of a mole. When measured in animal sources, they're measured in millionths of a mole. That is an order of magnitude difference of 1,000. A 70-kilogram human being contains about 70 grams of taurine. Yes, you heard that right. That same adult human being only contains about 500 grams of glucose. Taurine is important in visual pathways, the brain, the nervous system, for cardiac function. It's a conjugator of bile acids. It also happens to be a kind of potent detoxifier in the liver. Real preformed vitamin A, that is retinol, is only found in animal sources. Excess vitamin A can be toxic to a human being. When taurine, zinc, and D3, which are vitamins that are all also predominantly found in animal products, are lurking about, they protect against any of the hazardous effects of excess vitamin A. Food synergy, anyone? Now, humans can synthesize taurine from methionine and cysteine, but they have been shown in studies to have a limited ability to do so, especially when compared with animals that tend to be more herbivorous. Besides, you want to take a guess where human beings get most of their dietary cysteine and methionine? That's right, animal products. Food synergy, anyone? It's for precisely this reason that studies tend to show significantly lower plasma and urinary taurine concentrations in vegans. Studies have also shown that neonatal primates are capable of Studies have also shown that neonatal primates developed abnormal eye function when fed a taurine-free diet. So, although you won't go blind from masturbation as a vegan since your sex drive will already be killed, there's a chance you'll go blind from a taurine deficiency. What do we know? We know that taurine is widely distributed throughout nature, but disjunctly. We know that taurine is an important and required nutrient for all mammals. We know that taurine is an essential amino acid for children or infants, and we know it's a conditionally essential amino acid for adults. Cats, non-obligate carnivores have lost their ability to synthesize taurine, which indicates a long evolutionary dependence on foods that contain taurine. Humans and dogs can synthesize taurine, but they do this using methionine and cysteine, which are predominantly found in animal foods. Animals that are more herbivorous than human beings, like rats, have a greater ability to synthesize taurine than human beings do. The relatively inefficient way that human beings synthesize taurine indicates a long evolutionary dependence on taurine in the diet, a diet that includes animal products. The evidence surrounding taurine, like almost all the evidence we look at, seems to indicate that human beings and dogs are non-obligate carnivores. In fact, this is shaping up an awful lot like the heme iron thing did. According to the vegan, however, despite the fact that human beings struggle to synthesize enough taurine, that vegans tend to be deficient in taurine, and that this deficiency is dangerous, the fact that we sort of grow out of the need for dietary taurine is somehow proof that we're still natural herbivores. You know, there's another very critical nutrient that's essential for life, that it's absolutely essential that we obtain from our diets when we're infants, but that we also grow out of needing to obtain from our diets because we synthesize it when we're adults. You want to take a guess what that is? That's right. Glucose. After infancy, we can synthesize all the glucose we need. That means that all dietary carbohydrate, including fiber, which is a carbohydrate, are unnecessary for human survival after a period of infancy. That's why human breast milk, in addition to the taurine that human beings need, is chock full of carbohydrates. That's what human babies need, but adults grow out of that need. This means that dietary carbohydrate is for human babies. Remind me again what it is that vegans say about things that babies need, I think specifically related to dairy products.
Well, cow's milk is a great source of nutrition for a baby calf. No question. You want to turn a baby calf in 6 months into a 600-pound cow. Cow's milk is great for that.
Cow's milk is for baby cows, just like human milk is for baby humans. This means that potatoes, rice, legumes, and all that carbohydrate-laden food that vegans love is just the unnecessary vegan version of dairy products. QED, people, QED. Now, there's not a single micronutrient I'm aware of that vegans could use to make an analogous argument here, let alone an entire macronutrient category. So, what if I did some nutritional judo here and used the vegan's logic, not my logic, but the vegan's logic, to insist that since we grow out of our need for dietary carbohydrate, that we're actually naturally omnivores, right in between cats on the one hand and rats on the other, with man's best friend, dog, right in the middle. Or what if I suggested, shock, gasp, horror, that the fact that we don't need carbohydrates is proof that we're actually obligate carnivores? Obligate carnivores don't need carbs? We don't need carbs after infancy. This, in fact, is the vegan's exact reasoning about taurine. It's his exact reasoning about meat generally. Why doesn't it apply in this situation? Duh! Because of his pre-existing commitment to his religion. Call your dad, duders, you're in a cult. The fact that we can synthesize something is pretty much meaningless without further nutritional context, information about bioavailability, rate-limiting enzymes, and all kinds of other stuff. Riddle me this though, vegans that keep insisting that we're natural frugivores. What kind of a natural frugivore can thrive on a diet that not only doesn't even include any fruit, but doesn't even include the major macronutrient category that fruit is composed of? Does that make any sense to you whatsoever? If so, how so? And are the facts about taurine definitive proof, just like heme iron, that we aren't natural frugivores? If not, why not? Yo, go ahead and let me know down in the comments. This is your boy Danny reminding you to eat meat, move weight, and supplement your body's biosynthesis as needed. When this end card comes up, click on the video for heme iron and watch it next for more definitive proof that we're actually non-obligate carnivores. It's a real doozy.